but eats sin. He puts it so beautifully. Can you imagine cooking the most wonderful dishes and eating only sin? Sin means mental agitation. Sin means stress. So there are people in Mumbai city, you see plenty of them. They wake up early in the morning, they work 10, 12, 14 hours a day, they're generating huge sums of money, but they never find the time to enjoy it. Who enjoys it? Some guest who comes and lives with them, or a son-in-law. He never enjoys. So the person who is generating all the wealth, he never enjoys it. He always says, oh, I'll enjoy, there's plenty of time to enjoy. And unfortunately, he goes to his grave without ever enjoying the fruits of his own labor. Such a person cooks but eats sin. Who is the one who really enjoys the world and all that the world has to offer is a sattvic person, and what a way he describes him. He says, he is a person who eats yajna shishtaha. Yajna shishta means the remnants of sacrifice. What is left over after sacrifice is what a sattvic person enjoys. Now you might wonder, say, what kind of a life is it when you have to eat leftovers all the time? It's not leftovers. When you act in a spirit of service and sacrifice for a higher cause, when you act in a spirit of giving, when you find fulfillment in the fact that you are making an attempt to repay for all the blessings that you have received, then wonderful things happen to you. You meet with the best of blessings. Really fabulous things happen to you. You live in the best of homes, you visit the best countries, the best locations in the world, all of which free. Free means you're not paying now, you've already paid the price before. You've paid a huge price before. But you've done that, you've paid that price willingly, happily. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, in his entire life, when he decided to work for the nation and not aggrandize money for himself and his family, must not have in his wildest dreams imagined that someday he would be anointed the father of the nation. That every currency note in this country would carry his photograph. If you don't believe me, look at your currency notes. And that 130 years after his birth, a movie would be made by the British, the very people that he fought against, that won Oscar awards. And a few years later, a Hindi movie would be made, which also won awards. What a fantastic achievement. So the problem is, we don't see it like that. Now the point is, this power to think beyond ourselves, this power to perform yajna, this power to sacrifice for others is inherent in every single human being. And therefore it is that in Vedanta, nobody is disqualified. Have you ever heard of a spiritual center, anywhere in the world, that asks for prerequisites before admitting you? No. As long as you're a human being, you're qualified because you have it inherent in you. Unfortunately, you're not leveraging this power. You're not using this power. The fact is, all selfish people are unhappy. And there is not a single unselfish or selfless person in the world who is unhappy. But you don't see it. And therefore they say that we are going through life completely blindfolded. You refuse to see what is staring you in the face. Sense enjoyment. Only a person who sacrifices enjoys. If you don't believe me, try it out. At least fake it. Even if you don't want to give, you say this is an experiment. One action a day, you say, all right, I'll give up. I'll give. And see what happens. Magical results. Next comes relationships. Even in relationships, you see, people say, run after people who are celebrities. You want to take pictures with celebrities. You want to take autographs of celebrities. But the point is, we're all running after big people. You know, Oliver Goldsmith presents in a poem called The Village Preacher. The village preacher finds fulfillment in the broken soldier, in the beggar, in a person who has lost everything. And these are his good friends. Why must you look at a person's assets before deciding whether you want to be his friend or not? Why do you want to look at where he lives or what car he runs around in to find? Nowadays, even servants and drivers asked, which car do you have? Then I'll consider working for you. Friend, you have a few good friends is much better than having 1,000 untrue friends. But no one has a value for that. And these true friends will stand by you through the best and the worst of situations. It is a divine person who can make one good friend. The demonic have 1,000 bad friends. Knowledge. It's not necessary for you to download information, as much information as possible. We become a world full hungry for information. That's not what matters. It's how much of the knowledge that you have gained have you assimilated, have you internalized, so that you become a better human being. That is the question. All this makes for happiness. The next thing is, it's extremely important that you learn to remain in the present. What torments us is the fact that the mind is constantly flitting to the past and the future, and therefore there is a disconnect between the body and the mind. Whatever it is that you're doing, you could be eating a mango, but if your mind is somewhere else, you will not enjoy the mango. Someone told me recently, he says, you know, this music CD is all fantastic. The best numbers are in this CD. So I said, oh really, you've listened to it all? He says, yes, I play it in the car every day. But you know, by the time the first 2 minutes of the first song are over, my mind has gone off somewhere else. And so, if you ask me, the CD has played in the car, but I haven't heard it. So how can you enjoy something that you haven't heard? So you have to train your mind to remain in the present. And what is it that keeps the mind in the present? Intellect. So if your mind is going all over the place, it is a clear sign that your intellect is not strong enough to hold the mind in the present. And it is this wayward mind that causes havoc in your personality and prevents you from being happy, ever. You can be happy only when the mind is in the present. If your mind is worrying over the past or is thinking of future conquests, you can never be happy. The fundamental thing you need to understand about the world is that the world is unpredictable. Every aspect of the world is unpredictable. Just when you think, oh, I'm all set for happiness, I've got a good job, I have a home, I have a car, I have a spouse, I have children, and everything is just set, suddenly some force pulls the carpet from under your feet and you're traumatized by some tragedy or the other. And just when you're sitting there and feeling sorrowful, a windfall comes. So, life is unpredictable. Second, it's constantly changing. You've just seen, a few days ago the stock market was booming, everybody is talking about economy is good, stock market is good, this, that and the other. Within days everything changes. Something happens in China and you get affected. Unpredictable, changing, and it's full of pairs of opposites. So what the Upanishads tell us, what Vedanta tells us is, you are in the world, you live in the world, you interact with the world, you do what you want in the world, enjoy the world that comes to you. But don't depend on it. And this outstanding story that they give us is of a flood situation, and we're all familiar with flood situations, right? There was a flood in a village once, and a man who did not know how to swim, manages to scramble up a tree and is sitting on one of the branches of the tree, shivering because it's cold, and there's 10 feet of water below him, there's raging currents of water. He's on tenterhooks because there is strong wind, and he never knows the next gust of wind. If the branch breaks, he's gone, he's dead, he knows it. After a few minutes, a bird comes and sits on the neighboring branch, and his experience, he finds, is very different from the bird's. Why? Because the bird can fly. The bird is not dependent on the branch. The man is totally dependent on the branch. So every time the branch swings, this man's heart sinks. He knows he's few minutes away from death. But when the branch swings, the bird is ecstatic. The bird doesn't know fear. The bird doesn't know, it doesn't have to worry about whether the branch will break or not. Both the man and the bird are sitting on the branch. The difference is the bird has wings. So if the branch goes, the bird can take off on its wings. So the Upanishads, Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita is roaring out this truth to us, that you as a human being, and only you as a human being, no other creature can do that. You have these inbuilt wings of Vedanta, which make you independent of the world. So you can be in the world, interact with the world, you can do what you like with the world, but the moment something in the world goes wrong, take off on your wings. How nice it is. But you don't do that. It's like a parrot that has been kept in a cage for so long, its wings are intact, the wings are not clipped. But even when the cage is open, it can't fly because it has never in its life so much as spread its wings. And this, friends, is our condition. We have these wings of Vedanta, but unfortunately, because in spite of having it in our culture, in spite of having this running through our veins and embedded in our genes, for so many years, we have lost touch with our culture and this incredible knowledge of Vedanta, and therefore it has never occurred to us that we could be completely, totally independent of the world. If today you go home with the suspicion that even if the whole world breaks down around us, you can still stand unaffected. If you go home with just this suspicion, never mind the conviction, you will have achieved, you will have set upon this wonderful inward journey to total, complete independence. As is said by an English author, he says, "For him in vain the envious seasons roll, who bears eternal summer in his soul." So if you go back with this belief that you can carry eternal summer in your soul, irrespective of what happens around you, your time will have been well spent here. So, the thing about spiritual development is that spiritual development is inversely proportional to your dependence on the world. We're talking about dependence. So if you take a look at the picture here, a person who is self-realized, 100% development, his dependence on the world is zero. These are few and far between. If you're at 0% development, this is not possible. Your dependence on the world is 100%. All of us are somewhere in between. Suppose you're at 25% development. Let's say here. You are dependent on the world to the extent of 75%. At 25% development, you need a lot of support from the world just to be comfortable, just to be content. But this doesn't happen because at 25% spiritual development, you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the talent, the merit, the ability to gain 75% of the world. If you want to quantify it, it's something like this. At 25% development, you need a 5-bedroom penthouse apartment. You need 3 cars at your disposal. 1 Indian, 2 foreign, imported. You need a whole lot of servants, you need the best of food, you need the best of crockery, cutlery, all that you need, but you don't have it. You have only a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere in Bhainder, and you have to commute up and down by local trains. This difference, the gap between what you need and what you have, puts you in a veritable hell. So, the Gita helps us, or Vedanta helps us in 2 ways. Number 1, it helps us gain independence from the world. So, you go up the spiritual ladder. Let's say you come here to 75% development. At 75% development, your dependence on the world is only 25%. So, at 75% development, you're very happy to go running around in BST buses and local trains. You're very happy to be in a modest flat. You're very happy not to have servants around. You're very, your needs and wants are very minimal. But because you're at 75% development, you have the merit, the wherewithal to attract the best from the world. So you have a 5-bedroom penthouse apartment, you have, what is that? Just now I read on a hoarding, attached swimming pool. This is the new thing here. At spiritual level has gone down so much that earlier we needed attached bathrooms only. Now you need attached swimming pools. So with attached swimming pool, attached parking, the car comes up to your floor, this, that and the other. You have a luxurious apartment. You have the best that the world has to offer. So the surplus that you have, the extra